G'day everyone and welcome to the Ratty Workshop YouTube channel. Today's video we're working on the HZ. In today's video we are working on the shifter. So this shifter is the original shifter for the HZ. I believe this one is out of a HQ, but same thing. Now we step under the car and we can see there is our shift linkage going down to the Trimatic. Now, just recently we found out that this Trimatic is manualised. So we tried to make this work. It sort of worked, but also didn't really work. So we're going to head over to the bench and I've got something to show you. So we're over at the bench and here is my most recent purchase. It is a bang shift from Aeroflow. So I've opted for the pistol ratchet black version. So this should hopefully help me pick my gears a bit easier and make sure they're all in perfect positions. I've got one of my assistants here to help me look through the box. There we go. Alright. So let's have a look inside. Beginning, we have got some instructions. Might read through them, see how we go. We've got our cable, which should hopefully be long enough. It looks pretty nice. Nice black too. We have got our linkage brackets for a passenger side Trimatic. I'll get into a bit more onto why it is passenger side for this Trimatic, but we'll look at that in a second. Here we have, once our cap moves out the way, we have our shifter, which is hidden away, so we'll get into that in a second. And finally, at the bottom of the box, we've got some more mounting brackets for, I'm guessing, other transmissions. We've got a grommet, a big grommet for our cable, and finally, we've got some hardware. Alright, so let's get into opening this up. Okay, so here is our shifter. I have already cut the bottom tape, so hopefully with just a little bit of persuasion, it'll pop right out. And here we go, this is our pistol grip shifter. This thing looks absolutely amazing. Very nice finish on it, and it feels nice and firm. What do you think, Kat? Alright, so before we can install this, we obviously have to take the old shifter out. So let's get on to that. Alright, we're back at the HZ here now. We have lifted the car up so we can get easier access to our shifter linkage here. So we're going to be removing that. We're also going to be removing the shifter itself. Alright, so here we are under the car. So we are going to be removing this nut just here, undoing the bolt on the back of this, and then up the top there, right there, we'll be taking that clip out. That way we can get this rod out, and then our shifter just up here will be able to come out too. Alright, so that is our linkage out now. We're going to head inside the car and we are going to remove our shifter. So I've just got at the minute 2 flathead screws in there, and then it should come right out. Alright, so our shifter is completely out now, and that's going to be heading onto the wall. So this is what we're left with, big hole, so we're going to have to figure out how we're going to cover that up and also make our other shifter fit. Alright, so we've got our new shifter here. I've stripped it down to its bare bones. So we're just going to figure out a spot for this to mount where it'd be very nice and not running into the seat. So from what I'm aware of, the seat ends about here. So as long as the shifter's sitting basically here forward, it'll be completely fine. Alright, so it is the next day. I had to go to work, but we're back. I'm going to make up a little plate just to cover this section up, so we don't have a hole there. Just put a bit of sticker around it so no shit will get in. And then I'm going to get a bit of bar and make a little bit up here, down like that. So just make a little pedestal for the shifter to sit on. So let's go make that up now. So it's not going to be the most prettiest thing, but I'm going to chop this up. I'm going to chop it about here and here, I reckon. And that's just going to sit over. But we do have carpet for a reason, so just going to chop that up. Probably just tack screw it in. It's just temporary for now, till I can figure out a proper good solution. But yeah, we'll go and cut this up and see how it looks. And here is the piece. So obviously it doesn't sit too well just yet. A bit of panel beating should get this down. I reckon just a little bit off the sides, bring it this way a bit, and it should just go on pretty right. Then for this hole up here, probably just get a little bit of metal and just sticker it on. It's not like it's going to be, you know, flung off or anything. It will be under carpet, so should be alright. And there we go. So it's pretty much close, but once we put a bit of sticker underneath it, it's like it won't even be there. I'll give it a lick of paint, and I'll figure out this little hole, and then we are good to go. Alrighty, so that is covered up. Here is our plate. Still a little bit of gap on the bottoms, but I'm going to rivet it in so it'll never come out. I've got a bit of a sticker here, which I'm just going to run a little bead around the outside of this, and hopefully that'll be good. Alright, there we go. Is it the best work in the world? No, but will it do? Fingers crossed it will. It looks pretty scrappy, but once we put carpet over it, you won't even see it. So, next step, let's make up the pedestal for the shifter to sit on. So I'm thinking just a bit of bar about yay wide, and it's just going to go over, down, and into this crevice just here. So let's get onto that. Okay, so we're over at the vise now. I've got myself some flat bar here. Fixed stuff. Hopefully I can bend it. I'm planning on just chopping it here, getting my little piece, then doing a slit here and a slit here, and bending it around and then welding it. But we'll see how we go. It might be a bit too thick for it, but give it a shot. So we've got the pedestal almost made up. It's a little bit wobbly, so I'm just going to modify it just a little bit more, but that is what I'm aiming for. It looks pretty nice, and it's way out of the way of the seat. So with the shifter on it, it looks even better. We've got plenty of room underneath for the bolts to go from here down, so we can do our bolts from underneath without having to get under the car to remove it. But looks pretty good. Seems like a pretty good spot, especially when you sit at the old wheel and you're over here. Nice easy shift. Alright, so I'm going to trim that up just a little bit more, and then we'll get into welding it. Alright, I've got it in a spot that I reckon is going to be great. Barely any wobble in it now, and when you sit in the driver's seat, it's in a pretty good spot, so I can just reach over without even really having to lean too much into it, and I can just shift it as I please. So I was going to weld it today, but I've run out of time, so it's going to have to go to the next day, so I'll see you then. Well, it is well and truly the next day, and here we go. We have mounted up our plate, and our shifter is in place. So it is shifting gears very nicely, but it's doing it all by Bluetooth. So I've brought my cable, I've brought a ruler, and I've also brought the little mounting bracket here, mounting bolt, sorry. And we're going to fit this up just over on this side, up to this little knob just here. So let's get into that. Alright, so that is our cable installed. That is just sitting on there freely with the bolt just barely holding it on. So obviously the cable will have to go through the tunnel. So what I've got is our grommet, and I've also got a Sharpie here just to get a point on the tunnel to drill. We obviously do not want the cable to be bent. It needs to be nice and straight all the way down, and then it can start curving underneath the transmission. So I'm going to find our point and I'll get back to you. Alright, so here is our marking. I've just gone to there. That's the size of the grommet, hopefully. So I've taken the cable out, and that should be in line with our cable here, straight down to this point. So I've gotten the grommet and I've measured the inside of that, and it turned out to be about 38mm. So I've got our 38mm hole drill piece, whatever, and we're just going to drill straight into that, and then we'll put our grommet in and we'll see how we go. So I'll get back to you after we do this. And there we go. So cable is through the tunnel now, and it loops around underneath the trans and ends up just over here by our shifter selector. So I'm going to go grab our brackets now to mount underneath on the trans, sorry, so our cable can go around and loop onto it. Alright, as you can tell, it's getting a bit dark out, but I have got the shifter pretty much in the position that I want it to be. So I'll get back to you tomorrow when we get some light, but I'm going to keep slaving away in the dark and get that shifter going. So I'll see you tomorrow. So how many days has it been now? 4 days, but see you then. Alright, so it's been well over a weekend now. I'm back with the HZ, and finally we've got the shifter working. So we were having issues with the cable not lining up and picking all the gears right. So let's have a look at the transmission and see what's going on. So as you can see, the shifter is in, looks nice. So I have to do all the wiring and all that for the neutral switch and the lighting up the panel over the side here, but I'll do that in another video, maybe when I do all the wiring, all the touch up for the interior. But let's get on to the transmission. So the transmission, it's a Trimatic, as we know, but it was never perfect from the start. We picked it up for I think $200 or something like that, and we believe it was out of a 4B because someone made a turbo pattern, had a massive breather on it, and obviously it's manualised. So we were looking around. The shift pattern on it is all right from reverse all the way down to first, but reverse to park is way off. It's way out of whack. The travel is a lot shorter than a normal Holden pattern. So I put in a restrictor for the park on the shifter, and that seemed to fix everything. So it's into the position where it's a forward throw, but it's all good now. Picks all the gears and it looks awesome. And underneath it looks a little something like this. So if you are doing this at home, I couldn't really find much online about how these were all set up, and there's no instructions in the box. But what I've done, and my old man, we put this into the lower position on the bracket, and then on the lever we put it in the furthest away from the bracket over here. That seemed to be about right. And then when I was setting it up, I put it into neutral down here and up on the shifter, put it in, made sure it was free to move around, and then moved it through the gears. But that's what it looks like underneath if you are interested in setting it up about the same. I found that going up the top here and going to the first one here sort of works, but it's not perfect. But there you go. Alright, so that's it for today's video. We've got the shifter in, shifting nicely, nice and firm gears. Still can't start the car up yet, as I have to do fuel pump, cooling system and wiring still. So still a bit to go, but hopefully in the next video we'll sort some of those things out. But till then, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, comment and like, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys.